Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be talking about the Ace Beaute, or Beaute, if you want to pronounce that accent there, Grandiose Palette. I had not heard of this brand or used anything from this brand before receiving this in my November Boxycharm. So I get a chance in this video to talk a little bit about the brand, to tell you about this product, to do the look that you see on my eyes today, to do some swatches, tell you what I think of it, all of those things. And also I'm going to let you know there are timestamps below for all the different parts of this video. Do you ever have one of those days where it's just really hard to get started on doing anything? I'm filming this video today and I kept thinking about, oh, well, I need to do this and I need to do that. And it all just built up into being a big thing in my mind. And it's like, whoa, it's not that serious. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk about makeup. It doesn't need to be 3 full tutorials with like labels next to everything and like exact brushes. Oh, we're going to talk about eyeshadow. We're going to talk about this. Let's just sit down and talk about makeup. That is fun. It's like the best part of my day. So let's talk first about Ace Beaute. I used this palette for about the last week. If you've watched any of my videos since I unboxed my Boxycharm, this palette is what I've been using exclusively for my eye looks since that time. And I didn't actually look up the brand until after I had been playing around with it so that I could formulate an opinion separate of knowing anything about the brand. The brand was founded in 2016. It's relatively new, and they really have 3 products. They started out with lashes. That was their prime product. That's what they started with. They now also have eyeshadows and brushes. And their eyeshadows all seem to be really colorful and really fun palettes. Their About Us section is short and to the point, so I'm just going to tell you about what they say about themselves. Ace Beaute was launched in 2016 and was launched with a wide selection of false lashes. To make our brand completely cruelty-free, we no longer carry mink lashes, just faux mink. We have since expanded our line into color cosmetics and have a lot of wonderful products coming your way. Here at Ace Beaute, our motto is beauty for all, regardless of age, sex, skin color, religion, or socioeconomic status. Thank you all for supporting a small independent company. Your support means the world to us. So it is straightforward, but it's a nice little mission statement to get behind. I mean, makeup for everybody. That sounds good. Right now, everything is on sale, but it's also like Black Friday. So I don't know if they are the kind of company that usually has sales or if everything is just on sale right now. But they have all these palettes. This one retails usually for $24.99 US. Currently it is on sale for $17.49 US, and they have a number of other beautiful looking palettes as well. One called the Quintessential Eyeshadow Palette, which has just a whole bunch of really nice bright colors. The Paradise Fallen Eyeshadow Palette, Slice of Paradise, Classical Paradise, Blossom Passion, as well as a number of collections of all of those. And I do find their pricing to be pretty good. So a number of their palettes are usually $35, currently on sale for $25, and their large palette is usually $38 and is currently $27.29. So a little less expensive than stuff at Sephora, a little more expensive than stuff at the drugstore. So speaking about this palette, they don't say a huge amount about it on their website. The Grandiose palette features 8 colors. Each color has been carefully milled and pressed to provide the easiest application and the most excellent color payoff. So instead of doing a whole separate arm swatch of swatches, I'm going to swatch a little bit and tell you what I think of these colors as we go through. Let's start with the mattes. This one right here, Patchouli, I thought I was going to use as, sorry, I'm gonna decrease the lighting a little bit so you can see. I thought I would be using this a little bit more as a transition shade, but I just found that on my skin, that pulled really yellow. So it actually wasn't that great as a transition shade, at least not for me. The next matte that we have here is Clove, and by the way, all of these are really nice and silky feeling. That is Clove. It's this really nice coral color. Swatch that one there. This one I really like. You'll see this in one of my videos that I did an eye look with. It blends beautifully. I think it's very complimentary for blue and sort of gray eyes. I think that's really nice. You can really, as I said, blend it well, but also pack it on to get a good amount of color. The next one here is Poppy, and you're going to see me using this in my eye look today. It is intense, like intense, but also really nicely blendable. It's just a really pretty shade, and it's sort of a neutral red, which is really fun. Cinnamon here is this really nice brown that also has a red undertone. And I understand if you have sort of greenish eyes, these are really complementary colors for you. Again, really nice and blendable. So out of all the mattes, the only one that disappointed me a little bit was patchouli, and only because it looks fairly neutral, but looks really yellow when blended out on certain skin tones. Let me know down below in the comments, guys. Well, let me know a number of things. Let me know what you think of this palette if you've been playing around with it. You know, let me know if you like me talking about the colors as I sort of do swatches. I will mention as well with the red shades, they do have a tendency to stain a little bit, so be aware of that. As I was saying, I know this isn't traditional swatching, but it kind of gives me a chance to talk through what I like about the colors as I'm swatching them. I think we're all cleaned up here, so let's get into swatching the shimmer shades. We have Jasmine here, and all of these are really, you know, pretty soft shades. And to me, that is really nice as sort of a middle of the lid spotlight color. It's a nice, bright, you know, champagne shimmer shade. Now, I haven't played around with rose too much. To me, this is more like a satin. It doesn't have really shimmer to it, but it does have a little bit of a satin sheen. I'm just not so hot on hot pink, but if you like hot pink, this is a really pretty one. It is very creamy. It works very well. Myrtle here is sort of a copper color and is a really beautiful one. You can just see the shine of it there. Again, really nice and really blendable. And then finally we have Primrose. This is more of the gold color. You can see it there. And it again has really nice shine. It's not glittery kind of shine. It really is a sort of metallic sort of glow, which I find to be really nice. So those are the sort of non-matte, satin, or you know, reflective shades. Why am I not thinking of the word I want to use? Just those are the really pretty sort of bright shades that are in here. Let's get into showing you how I did the eye look that I have on today, and then I will be back at the end of the video to give you my thoughts on this palette. We're going to do a look that is a little bit of the mattes, a little bit of the shimmers, something that is a pretty standard kind of look that you can switch up just by using different colors. So let me zoom you in and we will get started. I'm going to start with putting a base on my eyes, and I'm actually just using a little bit of concealer. This is going to serve two purposes. It's going to sort of give a blank slate. I don't really want any sort of redness or veins or anything for my eyes poking through, or for me freckles necessarily, but also it provides a little bit of tackiness for the shadows to grab onto. I've also used these shadows without any kind of base and they work as well. Easier to blend because it's not sticky, but don't have the same vibrancy of color. Really depends on what you're going for. For the dark shade that I'm going to start with, I could, you know, go into this dark matte brown, which is very nice. That's the one called Cinnamon. But I'm going to go into Poppy because, you know, why have these beautiful reds and pinks if we're not going to use them? So I'm just taking a little brush. This is my Luxie mini angled brush that I got also in Boxycharm. And we're just going to load up with Poppy. This is a little bit dusty when you're tapping into it. You are going to notice that there is fallout, there is kickoff, whatever you want to call it. But I don't find that this falls beneath my eyes at all, so I haven't found that it's any kind of problem for actually applying the shadows. Now, what I've learned about myself over the years is that I like to use color, but I don't love sort of crazy bright looks. So what I try to do is sort of keep things pretty low and close to the eye. Because I have hooded eyes, when I open them, you don't see as much. And I kind of like that. It lets things play around with color while at the same time, you know, keeping things a little subtle, and it's more of a hint of, you know, color when I open my eyes rather than having it all just all over the place when you're looking at me with my eyes open. So I'm going to start with that dark color there on the end. What I have done is sort of keep it in line with sort of my eye and the tail of my eyebrow, not extending too much, and then I'm going to blend it inwards. For my blending, I'm using this big fluffy blending brush. This is a Alamar brush. I also received this in a Boxycharm subscription, and I'm just sort of blending back and forth and bringing this closer to the center of my eye. And also just a little bit up into the crease. And this is a clean brush. I was practicing playing with these shadows a little bit earlier, so there might be a little bit of red left on there. And you can see what that's done is blended it all to the inside. Now it's lost a little bit of that vibrancy, but what you can do is keep layering the shadow on and blending it, and it leads to a very nicely blended shadow and still building up the color. This time when I put that color Poppy on, I'm again keeping it, you know, on the outside. We're bringing it a little down closer to the lash line. And then taking my blending brush and blending it across the eye again. And in this way, I'm not really using a transition shade. I'm kind of using a diffuse version of that dark shade as my crease shade, as my transition shade, as it just sort of transitions up into the crease. Now, just to get the impact of that color, I'm going to go in one more time, pack the color on, and not blend it. Now, I quite like the shimmers in here. Primrose, which is very gold, Myrtle, which is coppery, and also Jasmine, which is bright. I'm not so much into Rose. To me, that doesn't come off at all like a shimmer. It's like a satin shade and almost more of a matte shade. It's fine. I'm just not super into hot pink myself. I do find this pink clove to be beautiful. I'm just not using that today. But I think what I'm going to do is lean this a little bit towards red and gold. So I'm going to go in with Primrose. And I'm going to put that all on the inner to mid part of my eye. And while I'm going to do the detail work close to the inner part of my eye with a little fine brush here, I'm also going to go over it with my finger to pat the color on, because that brings the shimmers out a bit more. I have this epithelial fold here, which makes it especially hard to get in close to the inner corner of my eye, especially with my big fingers. And these shimmers actually do work fairly well with a brush, as you can see. I'm not going up too high with this. I'm again keeping it on the lid so my eyes are open. You don't really see it above the crease there. And I'm bringing it sort of 2/3 the way across so that it blends right there in with that pretty red. And then, as I said, I'm just going to take a little bit there on my finger just to amp up the shine of it a bit. And, you know, it's pretty well blended along the top there. I'm just going to use my big fluffy blending brush, just a touch there along the top, and I'm just holding it really loosely. The last thing I'm going to do for the upper lid of this look is go into that shimmer there, Jasmine, and this one again I'm just using my finger for, because I want it to make it look like light is hitting at the center of my eye. So I'm just going to tap that very close to the lash line, just right in the center of my eye. And there we go, that just brightens up the middle a little bit. I'm going to use a tiny little bit of a color along the bottom lash line. I'm just looking at this and thinking that might be nice with this look. So I think for that I am going to use Cinnamon just with a very light hand. I don't necessarily want the red below. I've done that before. Sometimes it can make my eyes look a little bit bloodshot, so I'm going to stick to something with a little bit more of a brown tone. For that, I'm going to use just a very tiny flat brush. This is again an Alamar brush. Just going to tap it into Cinnamon there and just stamp it along my lower lash line, and then go in and blend it out a little bit. I can see I did get a little bit of fallout from that red. But not too bad. And then I'm going to take another one of these tiny Lexi brushes and blend that just a little. I'm gonna go match up my other eye and then put on some liner and some mascara, and I'll be back to show you the final look. Here is the final look with the Ace Beaute palette. I am really happy with how all of the looks that I've done have turned out, how everything is blended. The longevity of everything has just been really fun to play with. So I really did find, and you've probably picked up on this watching through this video, that I really like this palette, and it really grew on me quite a bit as I used it. I have to admit, when I first started using it, I thought, you know, this palette has dual personalities. I really sort of felt like these pinks and this red were sort of one part of the palette, and then the browns and coppers and, you know, more champagne shades were like a totally separate palette. And part of me was thinking, you know, why did you put these all together? Why not? You know, it just felt like two very different looks that you would create with this. But as I started playing around with it and, you know, putting them together more, I realized how complementary these are. You know, the red shades are set off really nicely by coppers and golds. You know, this highlight shade is good for everything. As I said, I didn't use rose so much, but if you are somebody who wants to play around in that kind of hot pink, you know, you could do a look like this and then just tap a little bit of that bright rose over top of the darker red to sort of give it a little bit more dimension without having like hot pink kind of thing. It sort of gives you one really sort of neon shade in there with all these darker ones that sort of let it play a little bit more into looks that are more wearable. I really like these, like way more so than I kind of thought I was going to, considering I hadn't heard of the brand before. I would say that Jasmine, Myrtle, and Primrose are somewhere between a satin and a metallic, more towards metallic. You know, I'd say Rose there is a satin, and then those beautiful mattes. The mattes worried me a little bit at first because of how dusty they were when I was tapping into them, but no problem at all with fallout. And they're just blendable, but then also keep their impact as colors. They don't get patchy. These, you know, metallic shades here work with a brush, like even a dry brush, as you saw. And I'm just super impressed with the formula of these shadows. It really makes me want to get other palettes from their collection because they have such beautiful, bright colors, and they seem to do beautiful, bright colors incredibly well. So to me, this is a really good value. I found that this is the kind of palette that brings out my creativity, that makes me want to match colors and play around in different ways. And even though there isn't a traditional transition shade in here, first of all, I have a ton of those in my makeup, so I don't need any more of those, but also because of the blendability of these, I didn't find that I needed that. As you saw in today's look, I really just like sort of taking the colors that I'm playing with and diffusing those in a very light-handed way into the crease or, you know, as a transition, and that's all I need. And it just looks really pretty in a way that doesn't make every look sort of like brown and transition-y. It's been really fun to play around with. As I was saying earlier, I would love to hear what you guys think of this palette, because to me, this is a big thumbs up, to the point where it really makes me curious about trying their other eyeshadow palettes. It's been a while since I've been sort of this excited playing around with an eyeshadow palette, and that says a lot. So again, huge thumbs up from me, and just really excited to be able to bring to you my enthusiasm about this. So big thumbs up to Ace Beaute, just gorgeous. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel and want to see more reviews from me, you can click on my face. I'll make it pop up there. I look forward to seeing all of you in my next video. And that's everything from me. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.